Well, howdy. Now welcome back to another Pixel Quest video. I've already made the decision. I really do enjoy this game greatly, so yeah, you guys are gonna have to expect to see a couple of videos on my channel now for Pixel Quest. So today, what we are going to be going over is a very basic starter guide for anybody that might be considering joining playing this game, or just in general, somebody that just might not understand it fully. So if you are brand new to my channel, hi, I do a lot of things. Quite literally. Make sure you do like the video, as it does help me come out with more content like this for you guys. Now let's go ahead and get started with today's video. So let's say you're brand new to Pixel Quest and you're kind of wondering what exactly are you supposed to do? Well, I want you to pay attention to my screen. Right now, we are just kind of grinding a bunch of potions. Now, this is what I specifically do just in this one area, but for you, you are going to grind here. And I would say you would probably grind here for a little bit, maybe to a comfortable level 10 or so. I only say level 10 because once you hit the next area, it's going to be a little difficult, especially if you're playing by yourself. There are quests that you can do, which are located right next to your minimap at the top right corner. If you do those, you do end up getting rewards, which are really important for your character. You get stat points, you get XP, and those are going to be extremely important, especially if you're not able to get any drops such as armor, rings, banners, and anything else that would be extremely imperative for your journey at the very beginning. So make sure you do as many as those as you can before you start heading up into new zones. Now, the next thing that we're going to go ahead and briefly speak about are weapons. Right now, I do have a tier 2, and this can go way higher, so I am using something that is still considered to be a very noob weapon right now. But I'm slowly just choosing to level up as I go. I don't want to speed through this. So I do have a Traveler's Sword right now. It does around 47 to 67 DPS, which is great, but if I were to go ahead and actually claim some of my stuff here, you'll notice at the very right corner, as mentioned, we'll go back to the quest system real quick. For the Beach Boss Slayer 3, if I were to continue to finish up this quest, I'll get everything right here, which increases my attack, which is something that I'm going to need. All of this stuff is going to increase my attack, especially when it comes to swords and weapons and stuff. Now, I know a lot of players right now are really into the daggers, and I heard that they actually nerfed daggers just a little bit and buffed the coral staff. There's some information on the Pixel Quest Discord in the game news section where you guys can read up on it. There is quite some stuff that they actually updated. Bug fixes, new content, balance changes, which I believe affects a lot of the bosses right now, which is amazing. And it looks like they did a small nerf to the bog dagger, which it's not going to affect all the daggers, but something to keep note of. I don't use daggers. I like either swords or axes pretty much in any game. So we're kind of going for a warrior build, and I'm not sure how that's going to be possible in this game because obviously there is no like actual stat system over here just yet, and I'm hoping to see that very soon, which is why I'm not investing too much time into actually going too fast with my leveling system just yet. But they have a ton of swords that you guys can actually look up. I'll have a link in the description so you guys can actually go ahead and see all the weapons and everything. It will not tell you how to obtain them though. The highest one that I've seen so far is a tier 8. Of course, armor is also something that is super duper important for you guys, especially if you're struggling on health and defense, everything in between. I was lucky enough to get this heroic mantle, which I'm hoping to keep as long as I can to get at least something way more better than what I currently have right now. Survivability is going to definitely make a huge difference, especially if you have a lot of health and a lot of defense, which is why I chose to not change anything out until I get something better than what I currently have. And then on top of it, I'm stacking the Worm Pendant, which is a tier 1, to also give me 20 extra health points. I also chose to use a Gravestone Totem, which is this little ankh right here, though this is going to be extremely dependent on your mana points, which is why I have so many mana potions on me right now. What I did notice is when I actually use this with my friends and everything, when we're actually playing the game, I can actually heal them as well on contact, which is why I'm a huge fan of this item, not only myself, but it also looks like it heals my friends friends as well. So this really makes a huge difference when we're doing raids together. Once you get to a certain point, then you're going to move your way upwards. Now, this is where you guys do have to be a little careful. Anything that throws arrows at you is going to give you something called bleeding. If you are not careful with this, watching your health, you will end up losing everything. But this is also a really good way to go ahead and start getting tier 1 items, which are not worn items anymore. This is also the point where you kind of start seeing different items as well. We do have this item here, which is called Banner of the March. Now, this does give you temporary boosts for you and anybody within that vicinity of the circle that it creates, which is really nice. I choose not to use this because I would rather have heals versus anything like buff related, but the option is totally up to you on how you want to go ahead and play through the game. So for this one little area that you could kind of see where the grass is a little dark green, that is the mushroom forest. I would not suggest going there until you have somewhat of a decent weapon, decent armor, and maybe a friend or two to go ahead and play with. This is an area which can be extremely difficult if you are not prepared, mostly because of the mushroom bosses and some sort of boss wizard mushroom thing that ends up just kind of draining your health immediately. But you can kind of get an idea of how crazy it can get here pretty quickly if you're not careful. My health is just going down because I want you guys to see mostly how OP some of these guys are over here. So even though that I am level 23 right now, with the current things that I have, which can be upgraded, I can get stuff that is better, but I want you to get an idea of how careful that you should be when you are here. And now that I think about it, mostly the goblin and the mushroom, they're not even bosses, but they do act like bosses for me because of how insanely crazy OP that they are. They're not bosses, just an FYI. Okay, so this is the desert area. This is an area that you should not go to if you do not have the gear, if you do not have the weapons, yet alone if you're not a high enough level. Remember, I'm still using technically starter gear for this section, so I am not going to be viable as I could be if I had some gear that was totally beneficial for me right now. But I do want you guys to pretty much see what to expect and how well you should be prepared down here. Even though I am the level that I am right now, I am safe to say that I am not comfortable being in this area by myself. If you have friends or if you have a group of players that are here pretty much grinding with you, then sure. But right now, by myself, this is not an area that I would like to stay in for too long. But this is an area that you could get really good gear in so long as you're able to grind here with friends. See how fast my health will go down when I am fighting a group of enemies? Yeah, this is why I carry a lot of potions and mana potions with me in general, because you are going to need them very desperately in this area. But there is a boss here which is absolutely insane. I saw this very small group of players in one small concentrated little area. I decided to go to it, and immediately there is this ginormous mini boss there. So, of course, naturally, everybody is going to go inside of it. Though, again, remember, be warned, you will not be able to do this by yourself until you have crazy stuff with you, and you possibly even know the patterns of how this works. So, because of the fact that I still have very minimal armor, very minimal weapons, I cannot really do anything that is beneficial. So what I end up doing is I actually pay attention to everybody's health. I try to heal people as we go and maybe even get a couple of hits in here and there, but what I wanted to do was focus mainly on myself and healing others, which at the very end of the day, once we hit that boss, oh my gosh, this is actually the first time that I'm actually experiencing this final boss over here right now. So I was not expecting this many projectiles coming at me at once, so I didn't know the pattern exactly. So trying to figure out how to heal everybody while trying to avoid all these things was actually pretty insane. But everybody also paid attention to my health and vice versa. Everybody was actually working together to heal each other and take down this boss, which is amazing. And once it was actually defeated, we got the chest and we had the portal. And then afterwards, we say our goodbyes and then we move on. Though I didn't get any drops, and I'm assuming this is probably because I actually didn't do any hits. I didn't really want to go in there and pretty much lose my progress, so I chose to back away and heal. Overall, this is pretty much what you expect when you're actually grinding out the game. I'm still waiting for the stat system to go ahead and showcase like all of our stats as a whole before I even get into anything detailed like that. But the only thing I can say is be careful and don't get overconfident unless you have the resources to stay alive. I'm gonna continue grinding this out and slowly and eventually make my way up to the desert area so I can actually just venture out there by myself. When you do get the chance of getting duplicate items, I know I mentioned this in my last video, is store it in the Perlock vault. Now there may or may not be a bug when you place items inside of here. You might come back into the game and it might be gone. I noticed that. I did end up losing my coral wand because of it, so I don't have it anymore, so I do have to go get a new one, but just be careful of what you put inside of there. That's the only thing I could really say about it. Until then, this is pretty much it. And if you're brand new, hi, I do a lot of stuff, and make sure you guys do like the video as it does help me come out with more content like this for you guys. Okay, bye.